Hello, everyone, and welcome. In our digital world, it can feel like there's this huge gap, right? On one side, you've got all these amazing learning resources, and on the other, well, that's where a lot of our English learners find themselves. So the big question for us as educators is, how do we build that bridge? That's exactly what we're going to dig into today: the challenges, the opportunities, and a really powerful framework for success. Okay, so let's start with the most basic question. We throw this term around all the time: digital age classroom. But what does that actually mean? It's a simple question, but believe me, the answer has completely changed the game for both teaching and learning. I mean, just look at the contrast here. It's night and day, isn't it? We used to think of a classroom as a place, four walls. Now, it's this whole ecosystem. It's the physical room, yeah, but it's also this entire virtual space. And our teaching isn't just happening live and in person anymore. It can be a live class on Zoom, or can happen whenever the student has time, working at their own pace online. And while this new flexibility is absolutely incredible, it also shines a huge spotlight on a really big problem. And that brings us right to the heart of the issue with this new landscape. All of this amazing potential doesn't mean a whole lot if the playing field isn't even for all of our students. We're talking, of course, about the digital divide. Just let this number sink in for a second. 1 in 4. A recent study showed that even in the states we think of as the most connected, 1 in 4 students still doesn't have adequate internet access. That is a massive gap, and it directly impacts a student's ability to even show up to this new digital classroom. So yeah, that statistic perfectly sums up what we mean by the digital divide. It's that chasm between the students who have easy, reliable access to technology and those who just don't. And for them, this isn't about some minor inconvenience. It's a very real barrier to their education. Okay, so let's narrow our focus a bit. How does this digital divide specifically hit our English learners, our ELs? Well, they're often facing this unique combination of challenges that can make navigating the digital world that much harder. And these hurdles, they're not small. We're talking about maybe not having a device at all, or an entire family trying to share a single slow computer for work and school. It could be trying to figure out a brand new learning platform with 0 instructions in your native language. And can you even imagine trying to get tech support and explain what's wrong when you're still learning English? A simple glitch can become a massive, insurmountable wall. So, with all those challenges on the table, we can't just cross our fingers and hope for the best. We need a new game plan, a specific strategy that's designed for this new reality. So, DATELS. It stands for Digital Age Teaching for English Learners. And at its core, it's a student-centered framework that uses technology not to replace teaching, but as a tool to create more opportunities for really rich, authentic language practice. It's all about leveraging tech to make learning better, not just to deliver it. So, what does this actually look like? Well, the DATELS approach is all about boosting engagement and providing real-world communication practice. It also helps lower what we in linguistics call the affective filter. You can think of it like a wall of anxiety that can totally shut down language learning. This approach helps bring that wall down. Plus, it gives us educators a whole bunch of digital tools to support our students in every single part of their literacy journey. All right, so how do we actually do this? How do we put it into practice? Built around something called the 5 C's. The first C is critical thinking. And, technology can be a huge equalizer here. Think about it. It can help remove language barriers, maybe through translation tools, which then lets our English learners focus on the really important stuff, like analyzing a problem and figuring out a solution, instead of getting tripped up by a few vocabulary words. Next up, we have communication. In a digital classroom, communication is so much more than just raising your hand and speaking. It's about creating podcasts, writing blog posts, jumping into video chats, using online discussion boards. This gives our ELs so many different ways to practice sharing their ideas, many of which are a lot less stressful than speaking up in front of the whole class. The third C is collaboration. This is all about designing projects where students have to work together, both in the classroom and online. The goal here is for every single student, including our ELs, to bring their unique skills to the table to reach a common goal. This builds teamwork and, just as importantly, a real sense of belonging. And fourth, we've got creativity. Learning isn't just about writing 5-paragraph essays. A digital age classroom lets our English learners show what they know in all sorts of dynamic ways, by making videos, designing websites, or creating multimedia presentations that actually connect with their learning to their own lives and passions. Now, for a long time, people in education talked about the 4 Cs. We're missing something huge. They added a fifth C. And this one is so important. It's culture. The idea is to build our teaching around practices that don't just see diversity, but actually affirm and celebrate it. Honestly, this changes everything. So what does that really mean in a classroom? It means we build on the incredible cultural and linguistic knowledge our English learners already have. It's about designing projects that don't just tolerate diversity, but actively celebrate it by making real, meaningful connections between a student's home life and their school life. So, what does all this mean for you, for the educator? Well, it really positions you not just as a teacher, but as a critical bridge builder, someone who connects students across that digital divide to real, equitable opportunities. And this is so important to remember as we're building those bridges. The label English learner is not one size fits all, not even close. Every student walks into our classroom with a completely unique story. Different schooling backgrounds, different languages they already speak, different levels of literacy. Our very first job is to see that beautiful, complex diversity and start from there. So, we end up right back where we started, thinking about that bridge. Look, the goal here isn't just using cool tech for the sake of it. It's about using it with a clear purpose, to create fairness, and to always keep our students at the very center of what we do. So, I'll leave you with this question to really think about. How are you going to use these tools to build that bridge and close the opportunity gap in your own classroom?